Do more by doing less. With me, Charles Alexander, for small business owners, startups, and busy folks.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
I have made more than my fair share of mistakes that have cost me real money. One of them that always comes to mind was back in college. I usually drove just whatever beater I could get my hands on because I was broke. This one time, though, I had this little red pickup. Went out, found it myself, bought it myself, negotiated. I was a big boy and I was on a roll because this car was so cool. It was a little lowered red Nissan pickup, a stick shift too. And I had everything on it just right. And by everything on it being just right, I mean, I had the bullet hole chrome rims on it. I had the bumper taken off and replaced with a smooth round out. I had a racing steering wheel. I had black fuzzy dice. I had some nice speakers in it. And I even had a Titans bobblehead right on the dash. Everything was thought of, or at least so I had assumed. Until one day I was on my way home from college. I went to school in a place called Middle Tennessee State University, dead in the center of Tennessee, Murfreesboro, driving home south to the little bitty town of Hampshire, Tennessee. Population, me and a couple of other folks. On the way there on this little country back road, I kept hearing this kind of knocking noise, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. Well, I soon figured out because smoke started boiling out from under the hood. The smoking noise that was emanating was from the car throwing a rod, which meant I don't think I had enough oil in it. And by enough, I mean, well, any. This is back in the day. There is no cell phone. There is no GPS. Nobody knows where I am or what I'm doing. And luckily, this nice fella pulled up, saw that I was in distress, took me down the road to a gas station, had a little conversation with him along the way. Super nice guy. Explained to him what had happened, needed to call my dad. I didn't even have a quarter on me because, again, I was broke. He loaned me a quarter, asked my dad's name, had a funny look about him. I never could figure out why. So I called my dad, said, hey, I think something's wrong with my car. Why? Well, I'm out of smoking. Smoke come out of the hood and, think I've got some issues. Well, help my time, son. When's the last time you changed oil? Oil? Oh, good Lord, son. You telling me you got all that stuff on that car and you ain't never changed the oil? Nope. I just took it as is and took off with it. Well, help my pitiful time. And then he even asked me who was kind enough to drive me down the road, and I explained to him. And then he had the same kind of funny sound that the guy had as a look, because apparently those two had previous engagement over a furniture deal at my dad's store and didn't quite get along. So the day is going perfectly. So either way, go out, let the gentleman know. He smiles, nods, takes off. So my dad had to come to the gas station in the middle of nowhere and pick me up. So what did this mean for me? I didn't quite have my priorities straight when it came to the little red pickup truck. And I've done this several times in my life since then. If you want to learn to really do more by doing less, make sure you make your priorities a real priority. Otherwise, you'll do all the other fun stuff first and little knick-knack things that don't move the needle, and you'll be stuck. I've done this several times in my personal life where I don't maybe not work out quite like I should, or with our first home, maybe didn't quite have good enough gutters on it, let water get under the house, but made sure we had a beautiful paint job and new appliances. So for me, as a business coach, you would think that my top priorities would always be just coaching the clients, because if you do that really well, it'll take care of everything else. Or you would think it'd be staying on top of little fires all the time and checking email and taking care of client emergencies. Or maybe it would be going to these random networking events whenever available. And for years, I really thought that was the case. Now, I've had to learn as I look back what moves the needle forward for my business, for my clients, for everybody. And all of those things are good, and they are a quote unquote important thing to do, but they may not be the top priority. For me, top priority really is doing this podcast. If I do the podcast well, you listen, you gain a know, like, trust factor with me, you get valuable information that you can use later. And if you binge a few of them, you might think, hey, this guy might know what he's talking about. Not to mention, I can take these podcasts and break them down, turn them into email marketing, into LinkedIn newsletters or written content, use it later for a book, break it down even farther into little bits for LinkedIn posts, Instagram posts, all kinds of cool stuff. Other things that are a priority for me, teaching workshops, whether they're in person or whether they're Zoom, or inviting people to hear what I've got to say on a very specific topic that affects them. Again, you're building my brand, my authority, setting myself apart, and then even working out on really tightening up my referral sources, figuring out where my business comes from, doing more of that, talking to people that can partner with or generate more leads. If I don't do the podcasts and the workshops and the referral sources, then I don't have clients to coach. Then I don't have fires to put out, which is an entirely different podcast episode. I don't have the ability to go to networking events because I don't have money to put gas in my current car. You've got to have the priorities figured out first. And in your case, what, if done well, makes everything else really fall into place? So for financial advisors that I've had as clients, they always focus on portfolio management, which is important, but there's quite frankly a ton of software or other people that can do that for you now, especially if you're just trying to rebalance and diversify and keep your clients in the market. The more important thing for them may be to do annual client reviews. And I have a lot of financial advisor clients of mine that kind of skip over those. Well, the client will reach out to me if they want me. They don't want to hear from me otherwise. This is your chance to get in front of them, to retain them, to make them happy, to give them more valuable information, to get referrals from them, to keep that relationship going. Other business coaches that have been clients of mine, they found out it wasn't necessarily the coaching themselves. It might be a speaking engagement where they can get in front of a ton of people who are their ideal client, or it might be podcast guesting where they can rely on somebody else's platform to bring in more people that they can have as coaches. Or for a lot of the solopreneur clients that I've had in the past, it may not just be the work itself, the landscaping, the web design, bookkeeping, but it could be creating instructions, standard operating procedures to outsource to other people some of the nominal work that is great value, but doesn't have to be done by them to free them up to grow their business or do something else. Specific client came to mind using those examples. A pest control company years ago, very successful, came to me with an issue. They were having to go out and reservice clients that they had done pest control work for. And by reservice, they would go spray the outside, knock on the door, customer wouldn't be there, even though they had sent a postcard earlier. And they'd leave the little door hanger, and then the customer would call up, a little frantic, frustrated even later. So, well, y'all didn't spray the inside, and I paid for the inside, so I need you to come back out and do it. So then they would have to go back out and spray the inside. So the idea that we all collectively came up with, more them than me, is that they wanted to go overboard and make customer communication a top priority. Well, why does that matter? How does that work? Well, this is far enough ago, but still recent enough that they could send a text message. And we just went from flip phones to our magic space phone. So they could even send a text message and an email with a picture of the technician that was coming out, a little few fun facts on him. Hey, meet Charles. He's a big Tennessee Vols fan, and his pet peeves are rainy days and people that don't smile. Awesome. He'll be there at 4 p.m. on Thursday. Please make sure he has access, whether it's somebody at home or an agreement that we've got where we can get in otherwise, and you sign the agreement that allows us to enter and spray. What happened after that was pretty remarkable. Their reservices plummeted. Their customer engagement went up. The employee turnover went down. Why? Well, first of all, now the customer is well aware that somebody is coming and when they're coming, and they've even got a face and a name, and they've even got a few personal facts about this person coming. So they make sure that either they or somebody's there. Then there's a little warm greeting. Hey, I'm also a UT fan. It's tough, isn't it? And then get to spray the outside, spray the inside. The customer's happy. Therefore, the employee is happy. And at that point, they were also able to collect payment if they didn't have the customer signed up on a recurring payment system. All things made by the priority of constant customer communication had this ripple effect throughout the entire business. Accounts receivable went down. Life was good. Now, if I were to ask any other pest control company, what's your top priority? I mean, you'd get a ton of good answers about customer service and integrity and building out loyalty and being the best at what we do. And all are good things. But what's the top thing that if you do really well, it makes everything else kind of fall into place? So a little exercise for you. Write down what you think all of your top priorities are. And by priorities, I don't mean just buzzwords of anything you've heard about the things I had just mentioned, but really write down actual activities that you do or that are done in your business that make the biggest impact all the way across the board. And once you do that, make a nice long list of them. And then really think them through. What are the top 3 or 4 that, if you do well, makes everything else fall into place? And those are the items that need to be on the calendar. Those are the items that need to be trained. Those are the items you need to think about and focus on. And if you think your priorities are changing on a week-to-week basis, those aren't priorities. That's called a to-do list. Find those top things and make everything else revolve around it. As for the little old red pickup truck, my dear old dad was kind enough to help me out there. Paid a few bucks to go to a different junkyard to find somebody else who had totaled their little red pickup and put in a nice used motor, and then I learned how to put first things first. Wait, don't run off just yet. Do me a big favor, hit the little plus sign to subscribe, scroll down wherever you are, and leave a very honest 5-star review and tell other people why they should be listening. And if you don't, an angel may in fact lose its wings. True story. Have a great day.